the first moment that a man walked into a women's locker room, there should have been every woman in the locker room should have been like screaming, "What the hell are you doing in here? Get out of here!" Okay, let's check in on the fish cam. We haven't checked the fish cam. Is the fish still there? It is there. Good, still there. We need a fish cam today. This is a fish cam emergency. Maybe that's why we got wiped out in the election. Not enough time spent with the fish cam. Really, this is on me. This is. I'll take the fall on this one. I'll take the blame. If only America had been able to spend more time with the fish cam. That's what's going to unify us. This is what's going to heal us all. The fish. The mighty fish. This is it. This is the banner that we must march under. Is the fish. Okay, enough of that. So just one headline today. We already covered like 4 of the headlines in the opening monologue. But I haven't had a chance to talk about this story yet. I've had it for a few days. And so I wanted to talk about a little bit. I'll read the report now from the Post-Millennial. A gym in Los Angeles terminated the membership of a woman who complained about a man using the women's locker room. Tish Hyman posted on X about the experience of having a man follow her into the women's room and call her a only to have her gym membership canceled. On Sunday, Hyman posted, "Today, he saw me walk into the women's room, followed me, and called me a I ran into the locker room, I ran out into the locker room crying and screaming. This is why we can't be quiet, because people need to know what's happening. Thank you to the men who helped me today." In a follow-up, Hyman wrote, "Gold's Gym terminated my membership after the man was escorted out by police." So video was circulating, says the article, showing Hyman angrily calling out the gym in the lobby. We have that video. Let's play it.
Gold's Gym, men, grown men with big in the women's locker room, and that's why I'm getting kicked out. And I want to make sure the girls know. So everybody saw that man in the locker room. No one's saying, and I'm done with it. It's stupid. It's dangerous. Me naked in front of a man without my permission. But I ain't the one who gets kicked out the gym, y'all. I'm terminated for not wanting men in the locker room.
Okay, so there she's there in the lobby, kind of making a scene. Rightfully so. That's exactly how she should have responded, which we'll discuss. But I also want to play, so she also posted another video talking about her experience and describing what happened. Let's play that.
I just had the worst experience ever at the gym, at Gold's Gym. And I think this is probably happening at gyms across America, where like trans women are going into the women's locker room and not really caring about how women feel about it. And it's really hurtful, yo. Like, how you gonna say you want to be a woman or that you are a woman, but you don't give a how women feel? Today I was naked in the locker room. I turn around and there's a man there in boy clothes, lip gloss, standing there looking at me. I'm butt naked. So the first thing I think is maybe there's a worker in here. Maybe I missed the sign. I say the word sir to say, "Sir, what are you doing in here?" He goes, "Don't talk to me. I'm a woman. I have a right to be in here." Immediately, I'm pissed because I'm butt naked. I feel violated. I feel like weird. Like, I don't want to deal with this, right? So the girls are walking in and they're seeing the commotion and they actually chime in and say, "Yo, I don't know why he's in here. He's not supposed to be in here." And then I talk to the people that work at Gold's Gym and they don't really have anything to do. They just like, "Oh, we can file a report about it, incident report." What the is going on? Like, listen, how can you say you're a woman or you want to be a woman and you don't care how women feel? That's nothing more manly than not giving a about how women feel, I'd like to think. And I get it, like, everybody has their own things, and I don't want to say that I know everything about gay rights or trans rights. I'm a lesbian. I've been a lesbian my whole life. I treat people how I want to be treated regardless of whatever their sexual orientation is or whatever they decide.
So, right, so her membership was terminated, even though obviously she's totally 1,000% in the right. And I know it surprises you to hear me say that. You were wondering where I'd stand on this. I know you heard about the story and thought, man, I need Matt Walsh to weigh in so I can find out what he thinks about this. It could go either way. You never know. Well, yes, I'm opposed to the man in the women's locker room waving his genitals around in front of a bunch of confused and alarmed women. I'm very much opposed to that, as you probably did expect. But I want to focus on two other points. So first of all, the response from this woman, Tish, is exactly correct. The only part that she's wrong about is when she started clarifying that she's not transphobic and she's a lesbian and all that. You didn't need to do that. It's okay to be transphobic. They were in your locker room. Right? When the trans people are coming into your locker room, of course you were afraid. Of course you were phobic. Right? You got a man in the locker room. You're in a state of undress. Yeah, to have a phobia of that, I think is pretty rational. So that qualifier was not necessary, but everything else was right on the money. She reacting in a horrified, infuriated way, causing a scene, being angry, being offended. Like really personally offended in a serious way, not in this kind of frivolous way where people are offended by dumb things, but offended. Like this is offensive. I'm personally offended. That's how you should react. That's how it should be done. That's a natural, appropriate reaction. And I'll tell you this: if women had reacted this way from the beginning, then the trans movement would have died in the cradle. And I'm not putting it on. I'm not putting all of it on women. Men were cowards on this issue in equal proportion, I would say. But the fact is that if women back in 2013, 14, 15 had just reacted appropriately and naturally to men all of a sudden showing up in their locker rooms and sports teams, that would have been the end of it, really. If men had reacted with the appropriate rage to men showing up in the locker rooms with their wives and daughters, that would have been the end of it. If everyone had not been so worried about being polite and being nice and being accepting, that would have been the end of it. And there is a lesson in that. When the left tries to get you to accept something that you know is wrong, that you know is demented, that you know is unnatural and bizarre and evil, speak up right away. Don't just speak up. Let loose. Get angry. Right? Don't hold back. Like, be enraged, be disgusted, be horrified in a peaceful way. Be all of those things peacefully, as peaceful as you can be. Now, I mean, if ever a man tried to walk into the bathroom while my wife or daughter were in there, I would not allow it. I would try to use my words to prevent it, but if words fail, well, I'm just not going to allow it. It can't happen. That's just not going to happen. I would prevent it from happening and do what needs to be done to protect my family. But, we want things to be peaceful, and that's what we prefer. So the point is that Tish had it right. And that's just in that, like from the very beginning, that should have been the first moment that a man walked into a women's locker room. There should have been every woman in the locker room should have been like screaming, "What the hell are you doing in here? Get out of here." Because that's how everybody wants to react, but they held back because of this emotional blackmail and because people want to be polite. It's like using the sort of human instinct to be polite and non-confrontational, I think was twisted against people very successfully by the trans activists for a time anyway. And there's another point too, and it's a point I made before. The trans agenda is losing badly. Now, this happened in California. It still has a stranglehold in California because California is insane. I mean, California is Canada, but warmer. It's Canada. It's just a warmer version of Canada. We know that. But generally speaking, the trans agenda is losing. And that's why Tish, if you notice, is not being really villainized in the mainstream media. I'm sure she is a little bit. I haven't checked, but it's not in the way that she would have been if this exact same thing happened 5 years ago. If it was 2020 or 2021, Tish would have been public enemy number one in the media because she's a woman screaming at a trans-identified male trying to deprive him of his right to invade her space. It's transphobic. You're a villain. And they would have been all over her for that. And they're not really now. They're mostly ignoring the story because it's a loser for them. And they know that. The trans agenda is losing. And we should really think about why it's losing. This didn't happen by accident. Did you know that when your metabolism is working properly, you'll feel the benefits in literally every aspect of your life? I have found a valuable tool that gives me insights to create a healthy metabolism for my body. It's called Lumen. Lumen is the world's first handheld metabolic coach that measures your metabolism just by breathing into it. Each morning, one breath tells you whether you are burning fat or carbs. And the app creates a personalized nutrition plan for my day based on that reading. You can also check in before and after meals or workouts to see what's happening in your body in real time. And Lumen gives you tailored tips to optimize your nutrition, your workouts, your sleep, and your stress management. My producer McKenna has been using Lumen for a couple of years now, and has been really impressed with all the information it gives her. It's really easy to use and helps her decide what meals to cook for her and her family for the day. Your metabolism is your body's engine. It's how you turn food into fuel. Since it's at the center of everything that your body does, a healthy metabolism means easier weight management, better energy, improved fitness results, and quality sleep. Lumen gives me personalized recommendations to optimize my metabolic health, and it can help you too. Winter is the perfect season to build strength from within. Stay energized, stay resilient, and take charge of your metabolism. Go to lumen.me/Walsh to get an additional 10% off your Lumen. That's lumen.me/Walsh for 10% off on top of any offers or sales running on the website. The trans movement didn't just trip and fall off a cliff all by itself one day. No, this was the result of a deliberate effort of opposition, of a coordinated and strategic counteroffensive from the anti-trans ideology side, from Team Sanity, as I have called it. We beat them. Now, not completely, obviously, they still exist, so the fight continues, I think on a smaller scale, but it still continues. But we've won battle after battle, culminating in Trump using the trans issue to get elected in 2024. That wasn't the only reason he got elected, but as Charlie Kirk pointed out, this issue was one of the determining factors. It really was. And Charlie would know. And, he said it himself. So in the exit polls and everything bear that out. So in a very real sense, we beat them. How did we do it? Conservatives should be looking at this, looking at one of the most significant and one of the only major cultural victories by the conservative movement in our lifetimes. We have not had that many. We have not had that many victories. This is one of the only ones. A clear, decisive cultural victory where the left tried to do something and we beat it back. And now, they're not totally giving up either. They're not going to just wave the white flag and say, never mind about the trans stuff. But we did beat them. I mean, even look at this last election. These candidates were not going around talking about trans rights. Now, if you ask them about it, they like Zoran Mamdani. Did he ever talk about it? I'm sure maybe he probably did. It probably came up, but he definitely wasn't running on it. They were running away from it. Abigail Spanberger went almost the entire campaign and avoided ever even answering the question about whether men should be in the women's room until she finally sort of did because she was backed into a corner. And even then, it was like a very roundabout way. She was talking about it in a way to avoid being clipped, to avoid giving anyone any sound bites. So we should be looking at that and we should be saying, how did that happen? What was the strategy? And this is what kind of boggles my mind, that there's very little of that on the right. There's very little of this kind of post-mortem. And I mean, there's post-mortems all the time. Like every time we lose, there's a post-mortem. And I just did want to start the show. And that's important too, because like when you lose, you got to look at it and say, how did it happen? But on the rare occasion we win, there's never, like, we don't go back and say, well, how did that, that's interesting. How did we pull that off? Well, we should, because you can take lessons from that and take them into the next battle. So what was the strategy? Well, the strategy was essentially to do the exact opposite of everything that milquetoast moderate establishment conservatism told us to do. Do exactly the opposite. We ignored them at every turn and did precisely the opposite, and we won. Now, of course, moderate establishment conservative types have jumped on the anti-trans ideology bandwagon now that it's safe, right? Now that it's popular. It's popular for a reason. It's popular as a result of our efforts. But now that it is, they're on board. So it can be easy to forget that this was not a moderate establishment conservatism victory. Now there's no risk, like getting up and saying, get man out of women's sports. There's nowhere risk in saying that. It's a very popular position. There's not a lot of pushback anymore. There's a little bit, but it's, again, the left is running away from it. They really don't want to talk about it. So it's like coast is clear, and this is what the kind of the useless conservatives do. They wait on the sidelines and they let everybody, they let the rest of us fight it out and take all the, get bruised and bloodied and take all the hits. And then when it looks like, okay, you're winning, the score's 57-3, then they say, okay, coach, put me in. And they score like a useless garbage time touchdown, and then they expect to be carried off the field like Rudy. So that's kind of how it goes. But still the question is, so how did this victory happen? Well, to begin with, we chose to fight on a cultural issue, a culture war issue. Chose that fight. The moderate mainstream said that we shouldn't. I mean, I'm old enough to remember 10 years ago being lectured by many people on the right that the trans stuff is a losing issue. Nobody cares. It's already lost. Move on. You can't win it. It's culture war. Nobody cares. No one wants to talk. And this is what they always say about the culture issues, about so-called, quote-unquote, social issues. And we ignored them. And then what? Well, we were aggressive. We were focused. We were even sometimes kind of mean and mocking. Because the thing that we're fighting, trans ideology, is evil and dangerous. And evil must be mocked. We didn't worry about tone policing. The milquetoast crew, they worried about it. They were tone policing. But we ignored that. I mean, I remember a couple of years ago, I did a monologue about Dylan Mulvaney on the show, and it's the main thing that got me demonetized on YouTube. I got demonetized for a year after that and lost, hundreds of thousands of dollars because of this one, mostly because of this one monologue. Wouldn't change a thing, though. But I was very blunt and direct in how I addressed him, Dylan Mulvaney. And there were conservatives calling me out, didn't like the tone, didn't like how mean I was being. Yeah, easy to forget about this stuff. And some of the ones that were doing the tone policing now would be embarrassed by it. They don't want to admit it, but they were at the time. They were coming out and saying, I don't really think this, we really shouldn't be using a tone like this. This is gonna turn off the voters. Well, if we're talking like this, we're gonna lose in 2024. And they also said that we shouldn't even talk about Dylan Mulvaney. Why are we talking about him at all? It doesn't matter. Well, those of us in the fight, we knew better. We knew that Dylan Mulvaney was an example. He had offered himself up as a mascot for the trans movement. And we looked at that strategically and we said, okay, great. You want to be a mascot for this thing? Okay, let's do that then. And so we hung him around the necks of our opponents, this weird guy who was like going out and 100 days of girlhood or whatever it was, and prancing around, pretending to be like a 12-year-old girl. And so we said, well, okay, yeah, I mean, this guy wants to be like the mascot for this whole movement, and I think he's a great mascot for it, actually. So and so while you had other conservatives saying, you're making him more popular, stop talking about him. We knew strategic, like this is a good strategy. Hung him around the neck of Bud Light. Or really, they hung him around their own necks, and we pointed it out. Bud Light lost billions of dollars. That was another point where milquetoast moderate conservatives, a lot of like the former liberal types, those guys, they said that focusing on Bud Light was a mistake. It was dumb. Cancel culture. But we knew we could make an example out of Bud Light. If we made them pay the price, all the other major corporations would see. Was Bud Light like the worst offender of, when it comes to wokeness? Not even close. They weren't the worst offender. But they were vulnerable. They were susceptible. Right? They were, it's like we're not going after the fastest, strongest gazelle. Here's one we can take down. And we did. They lost billions and billions of dollars. And the fact that eventually they recovered, that doesn't matter. You want other corporations to see what happened to them. And if they see it, then they're going to back off all of their gay pride celebrations, or at least they're going to tone it down significantly. And they did. That's exactly what happened. And we also changed laws. We approached, we approached the fight from every direction, socially, legally. You got to change the laws to protect kids, but we also know that the law is a teacher. The law provides a bully pulpit. Laws help to change people's minds about things. Law matters. Left knows that. It's not just about the practical effect of the law. I mean, it is that, but it's also the cultural, the social impact of the law itself. And then you cover it from every angle: the culture, corporate world, legislation. And we knew we had to empower the public, empower people to stand up and speak up. That's the other point behind the tone, by the way. There's actually a strategy behind the tone. Like, it's not all just venting. It's one of the reasons why I'm so strident and aggressive in my tone. And I've been lectured for my tone for as long as I've had a platform, for a very long time. Well, there's a reason why I am this way. Now, part of it is that, I'm a stubborn, hard-headed asshole for sure, but I don't deny that. But people like me, we kind of serve a purpose. We're kind of annoying sometimes. I get it. You get a little sick of us. But, using the trans stuff as an example, we knew that, well, if we speak out very aggressively, even kind of meanly sometimes, even kind of mocking sometimes, that provides cover for everybody else. Because normal people can look at that and say, okay, well, this guy's got a big platform, and look at how he's talking about this. Look at what he's saying. Well, he's going way farther than I even would. And then they feel a lot more comfortable speaking up in ways that are tend to be like much gentler and less aggressive. So you go even farther, speak about it even more stridently. Then everybody else who's a little bit closer to the middle, it gives them cover. It gives them cover to come closer to you. And if you have a platformer on the right, that's one of the primary services you can provide. It's like one of the only services, really. So the point here is not gloating or whatever. I mean, now is certainly not the time for gloating. Okay, we just got our asses handed to us. So, but that is the point. The point is to learn the lessons. And I still don't think we have. To learn the lessons not just of defeat, but of victory. And they're right here. And they can be duplicated. Thanks for checking out this video. If you'd like to listen to my full podcast on the go, you can check out The Matt Walsh Show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.